Doris, can you tell me what a personal directive is and why is it important to have one?
So a personal directive is kind of that flip side of the enduring power of attorney, and it deals with health care and personal matters. So anything that's non-financial. So are you going to be taken off life support? Where are you going to live? Who should you associate with? Any of those things that really are on the healthcare side is what the personal directive is all about.
Who do people often choose for personal directive in their lives?
The personal directive, obviously, way more personal. You need to choose someone who you know would make the same kind of healthcare decisions that you would make. So again, probably most people would choose their spouse or partner first. And again, they need to choose someone as a contingency plan. But here we're looking for a skill set that says who will be the person who will be your healthcare advocate. In our healthcare system, if you don't have a good healthcare advocate, you're going to be kind of one of those forgotten lambs. And so you need someone who's going to speak up for you, who's going to say, she was supposed to have those tests yesterday, why didn't that happen? That's the kind of person that you want. So obviously you're going to look probably to your children. And lots of times people will say to me, so I have a daughter who lives here and my son lives in Calgary, so I think I'll just appoint my daughter here. And I encourage them to appoint both of them because the son in Calgary can be involved even though he's there, because he can phone in and find out information, because the personal directive also gives you access to healthcare information.
Who do people often choose for personal directive in their lives?
So the personal directive first, I'm going to appoint that healthcare advocate, most important thing. Then you can state what your wishes are in terms of your own healthcare. So one of the most important things is trying to decide if you want to be taken off life support or even have life support started if you're going to be in a vegetative state or at that end stage of the disease. That's a really difficult thing for a family to decide. And when families have to make that decision, it's nice for them to know what you would have wanted. And it's nice to really think about what is it that you want at that time. So I have families who are a little worried that their families might take them off life support too quickly. So they say, I'd like to, be in the coma or something for 2 or 3 weeks before I get taken off. So you can be that specific. It's also good to be specific about the kind of care that you want. So we used to say, don't do anything heroic, but we learned that that means different things to different people. So what is heroic? Maybe you don't want to have a ventilator or respirator, so if you can't breathe on your own, you'd want to be taken off that kind of life support. But the controversial one is, do you want to be taken off a feeding tube or hydration? And of course, there are perhaps some religious considerations in that in terms of whether you want to be taken off a feeding tube. The other thing you can deal with in your personal directive is whether you'd like to donate your organs for transplant purposes. And so lots of people will say to me, oh, I think I'm too old for that. But in fact, the oldest donor in Alberta is 89. So our organs and body parts can be used into our later years, so you can never be too old, and that's a personal decision and something that it would be good to put in your personal directive. And then you can put in your personal directive anything else that's really important to you from a healthcare perspective. Is it really important for you to stay in your own home as opposed to being placed in an institution? If that's important, then that should go into your personal directive. And it can be more frivolous. So I had a woman who said as she got older, she went to visit her friends in nursing homes, and there was a whole lot of bad bedhead going on. And she said in her personal directive, I want to make sure that my hair and nails are done once a week, no matter how crazy I get. And so it can be that frivolous and also on the serious side of taking you off life support.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Okay, so power of attorney is financial,
Right.
and then personal directive covers other issues.
Most people think of it as a healthcare directive, but it covers kind of that whole healthcare, where you're going to live, are you going to be taken off life support? Yeah. It covers all of those issues.
What are some issues that can arise if someone finds themselves in late stage dementia and they don't have a personal directive?
First of all, without a personal directive, you're going to run into lots of problems because anytime you run into a doctor or a nursing home, they're going to say, so who is the person making decisions for this person? And if you don't have a personal directive, they may not take your instructions. So then you might be shut out into the court system again. So first of all, you have that problem where doctors, nursing homes won't take just because you're married doesn't mean you have authority to make decisions for your spouse. The second is, so when your family's asked if you should have a do not resuscitate order or should we now remove the resuscitation that's been put in place, they won't know what you wanted. And that's a very difficult decision to make for families. It doesn't matter if you're 95, right? It's still a very tough decision. But if the family knows that's what you would have wanted, that you would have wanted to be taken off life support, then it makes that decision that the doctors are recommending a lot easier for families to make. So you're really helping your families so much by giving them direction about what you would have wanted.
Sure. And how can the family prepare for that lawyer's visit about finding a personal directive?
So again, the first thing you're going to think about is who do you want to appoint? Who are the people that you know will make your decisions in the best way and in the way that you would have wanted them made? And then secondly, think about those end-of-life decisions. Do you want to be taken off life support? Some people can't even make that decision. They just they'll say, I'll let my agent make that decision. So, and then any other healthcare issues that you've noticed in your life or that you've had that you want to make sure that you put into that personal directive. So another example might be Jehovah's Witnesses are going to say, I don't want to have blood products used. So any of those things that are particular to you would also go into the personal directive.
Thank you, Doris.
Oh, you're welcome.